I think we can agree that modern gaming is a pretty divisive topic, right? Like the concept of how games are now in comparison to how it used to be back in the past. We all debate on how games used to be so richer. Like you see all those YouTube videos saying that, oh, what games used to be like in comparison to what it is now. And I think that I agree with them to some extent. Right? Games have changed. The landscape has changed so much since like the early 2000s, and it's become really noticeable nowadays. You don't go 5 minutes without someone comparing to a game like Time Splitters or something like Armed and Dangerous compared to what like newest Call of Duty game or GTA or Fortnite. And I think people do that. Well, mainly it's because they say that new games nowadays only care about monetization and only care about making money and profit over having fun. When in reality, it's a little bit more different than that. Because in my personal opinion, modern games nowadays can still be good. There are tons of new age games that have heart and soul in it in comparison to games that happened like in the 90s or the early 2000s or heck even 2010s. For example, God of War. God of War franchise, a modern franchise. I think Ragnarok and 2019 have a lot of heart and soul in them. And you could tell when you play through the game, you see the story of Kratos and Atreus, you see them grow, well, you see them develop as characters. You see that heart and journey as the story went on, both of them. And the comparisons like the old God of War, where it's you going around like murdering your way through the Greek pantheon. There's still heart and soul when you go look at it, right? There's still heart and soul. You see Kratos' journey from simple revenge to mass genocide, essentially. And the heart and soul is there. But the thing about modern games is that stuff like Call of Duty, maybe Fortnite, and any other highly monetized video game, is that they're bigger. They're a lot bigger. Back in the day, it was just a simple game, right? That's it. And then there's just multiple of them. I mean, for goodness sakes, on the PlayStation 2 alone, there are thousands of different rare games. Some games people love, games that people didn't even know existed. But yeah, it was there. But nowadays, it's because games like Call of Duty, games like that have like Halo Infinite, games that have big monetization that stand out in a bad way, take up the forefront of modern gaming. There are great games that we make nowadays. Red Dead Redemption, like that's a game that has so much heart and love in it when you play it. But we talk about it and say how great it's a masterpiece, but it gets overshadowed. Yeah, overshadowed by how shitty Overwatch is, and it sucks really. Because modern gaming, like, it is bad, but not that bad, right? There's a glimmer of hope, and that same love and drive for games is still there, but it's because the bad ones, the ones that take out the love, the ones that are made for profit first, right, overcome and consume the mindset of people that leads on into why people say modern games is bad. For example, let's talk about Marathon, right? At first, Marathon looked good. It looked unique. It looked like a really nice game. Boom. Find out that half the art was stolen and crunch time and all the bad stuff that came with it, monetization, the everything. And now look at now. Marathon is a piece of junk. No one cares about it. Actually, they do because people talk about it. And that's the forefront. That's the label of modern games. Think about Halo. Halo used to be an amazing franchise. Halo 1, 2, 3, Reach, ODST. 4 is when the split happened. Those other games, great. Banger after banger consistently. And yet when Halo 4 came in and it did that weird multiplayer thing, that's when it shifted. That's when the franchise was focused on like that. We all remember the old games, but we focused on the bad. We focused on 4. I personally like 4, but we still focus on negative, right? Then we got 5. I didn't play 5, but I heard it was really polarizing. I played Infinite. I didn't play the campaign. I played multiplayer. Infinite multiplayer was not as good as I thought it would be. It was actually quite disappointing. It felt off. It felt wrong, and the monetization was really bad. And that is the label you get stuck with modern gaming, because that is how it is. But on the flip flop, right? We have good games that come out this year. Baldur's Gate was a successful hit, right? It was a step in the right direction for modern games. Personally, I think Spider-Man 2 was a pretty good game, right? Despite what people say, I think it has a lot of heart, just as good as the second one. What was this? Come on, actually, I had one in my head just right now. I completely forgot what it was. Well, I'll remember if I remember it. But those games that come out now, they're pretty good games. Oh, wait, I found it. Resident Evil franchise so far in the new generation of from 7 to right now, Requiem, even the remakes have been pretty good, pretty consistently good. Yeah, pretty amazing. They've been great. They've been fun. Are they as good as the original? Well, that depends on the person you are and the way you want to debate. The original was good compared to how the new one is, but so far they've been really good games. Street Fighter 6 was a pretty good game, pretty good for a modern game, and a whole bunch of other games right now that have been created recently are good. But the only problem is that we always say modern gaming isn't good. It's because we focus on the bad. The bad overtake the good. The bad overshadows the good. And it sucks. It really sucks. Because why should we let these bad ass games derail our thoughts from what's good? Like, why? Why should we do that? Personally, I would rather spend my time focusing on a game that just released that was amazing than focusing on the next Call of Duty and shit. Like, for example, I've been recently playing Inazuma 11 Victory Road. I missed out on playing it last year, but I'm playing through it now, and it's great. It's an amazing game. Yeah, I don't see many people talking about it. Right? I don't see people talking about how it's a massive love letter to its franchise, and there's so many characters you can pick. How you can make your own team, and how diverse it is. I haven't played through the story mode, but I heard it's pretty good. I haven't played through Chronicle mode, and Chronicle mode is amazing. It has pretty much almost every major part of every single game. Even some games that I heard that never made it to a Western release. And yet people talked about it a few months ago. And yet, if we look now, right, I just type in Zoom 11 on my PlayStation Victory Road. People haven't talked about it in a long time. Most of the stuff, has come recently, but it's only a select handful of YouTubers. Most of the big stuff happened 6 months ago. We don't talk about that. But no, so we just talk about how so and so is a disaster. How Call of Duty has failed us, how Battlefield has failed us sometimes. How modern games don't hit like they used to. And it sucks, really. Because like even games in the past had issues, right? We could probably name a handful of games that in the past that weren't good. Right? What's it called? Ride to Hell Redemption? I think that's what it's called. That was a really bad game. Sonic 06 was a fundamentally bad game. I still enjoy it, but I think it's a pretty bad game fundamentally. There was a ton of like low budget Xbox games. I know that for a fact. I can't remember some of them, but I think one of them was called Remember Me. I'm not even sure if that was one. I'm not really sure about that, but there was tons of games that were bad back then that bombed, right, and had their legacy. But we move on. But yet now, it's so different. It's so different in comparison to back then. Back then it was a bad game. We talk about it for a bit and we move on. But now, put modern gaming, and it's just modern gaming sucks. Modern gaming feels overwhelming. Modern gaming is over, and it's because, well, yeah, people are mostly right, that modern gaming isn't good, but it's not all. It's not all there is, right? Like, for example, this new God of War, Lafe situation, where people complain that Kratos' wife doesn't look all sexy and everything like that. People are complaining about that. Like, I somewhat understand a little bit, but I feel like God of War isn't the type of game you should be going to for that. God of War has a specific art style, and has a reason why Kratos' wife, I forgot her name. Kratos' wife looks the way she is because she's in her 40s. She died around that time. Yeah, and I understand that people do want attractive women in their games. I like attractive women in their games. I wish we had more of that. And it's possible. But because in modern games nowadays, people focus on that. Because everything nowadays is realistic. Everything nowadays is in hyper-realism, and it has to look like real life and accurate and beautiful as possible. And I understand that, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Yet, it's because, like, in the past, we had games that weren't afraid to show sexy characters. Dead or Alive, that's a massive, well, was a massive franchise that had women dressed up as fine. Overwatch, the original one, and I guess nowadays, had that. And all the games in the past had characters that were afraid to have different body traits. But I think now it's because of the fatigue of modern day games, right? The fatigue of it all. People are sick and tired of seeing realism. People are sick and tired of seeing characters look like people you see down the street. And they want that. And I understand that. But I think nowadays, we want it so bad, we're just picking the wrong games to go against. And it sucks. Because you can have your cake and eat it too. Stellar Blade, for example, is a modern game. Good action, sexy women. And it's possible. It is possible. But we choose to focus on this. And not to say that developers nowadays don't know on the problem as well, right? Modern day games now kind of feel like the same. Right? Sometimes you got an open world with literally nothing to do, and you just running around doing absolutely jack shit. Everything's so tedious. Everything's so bad. For example, with GTA Online right now, I'm playing that with my friends. I struggle. Well, I wouldn't say I struggle, but the gap between went from starting up to getting to like one or like level 200 or whatever of 900, driving around with an oppressor motorbike, right? And you see everyone be able to blow up people as you do, right? And get lots of money. The grind to that is frustrating. It's very tedious, and while I could go through it with my friends, right? The slog of modern day gaming is there. It doesn't need to be like that. It doesn't need to be like that. Granted, it's not granted in the past, there were games that are like that. That were grinding, you had to do all stuff. But back then, it didn't really feel like that. It felt like there was always something to do. But now we are tired of it. Because it's been saturated. It's a saturated thing. And it sucks. It really does suck. Because that's now going to be the full focus of what we focus on now when we talk about modern day games. Another thing to talk about is, well, pricing. Now, to be honest, people say, oh, nowadays games are too expensive. Which they are. I'm not paying £70, right, for a game. I remember when the Dead Space remake came out. That shit was like £70 to £80. I'm not paying that shit for a remake, right? I'd rather just keep holding my original game. But to be fair though, looking back in history, games were always expensive, right? Remember back in the day, games used to be apparently $40 £40, £50. So yeah, granted, it changed since then, but you know, it's still expensive. And we didn't really notice that. I think we've caught up in the nostalgia of how games used to be back then, how great they were. We kind of turn a blind eye to how much the pricing is, and I know it doesn't really cover an excuse for how games nowadays are raking in for like 100 just to play a premium or version which just comes with a freaking book, digital book, art book, digital soundtrack, and that kind of crap. Doesn't really cover for it. But back in the day, games were just as expensive. Not as much, but just as. And I feel like we turned a little bit of a blind eye that then because it felt like it was worth it. It felt like it was worth it. I mean, think about it. If you were to, let's say you were brand new to anything, you'll play around on like Ratchet and Clank 3. The game was like, I don't know, £30, £40, borderline 50. And people love Ratchet and Clank 3. It's probably everyone's favorite. One of the classics, at least. And you bought that game for like 40 or 50. And you played it, and you loved it. Would you, and yet, right now, if you had Call of Duty, which is around the same price, let's say, I don't know, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 or 2 or whatever, which one is most popular, Modern one now, same price, and you compare the two, which one do you think is the better experience that you feel like you got your money's worth? Ratchet and Clank 3, a whole game, beginning and end, or Call of Duty, which also has like a campaign, has multiplayer, but the multiplayer is good. There's microtransactions everywhere, right? The campaign story is not as good as Ratchet and Clank, but it's still probably as long as Ratchet and Clank. It probably isn't, but let's just say it as an example, right? Would you, honest on heart, say that it's worth how much you pay for it? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. And I think that's the problem with modern gaming nowadays. Modern gaming nowadays isn't bad. Well, it's not great either. But I think we just, as people, we've opened our eyes to all the bad parts of modern gaming. And we want change. We want it to be like the old days. That's why we highlight all the old games and say, they don't make games like that. They used to nowadays. It's because we are now sick of it. We are now opened our eyes to it. But there are games nowadays that are still good. Modern games can be good and are good. We just focus on the bad. And, well, that's just my side. That's just my opinion. I'm just rambling on.